Alright everyone, welcome back to the first war of season 33. Now we're going to start this war video off a little bit differently because there are some updates to my war videos that I want to talk about and discuss. And there are also some feelings that I would like to discuss about the current loyalty store and potions situation now that the season has started. But we'll get to that first. For the war video updates, you guys probably noticed I'm not doing the war at a glance video anymore. It was getting good feedback, and I felt like it was helping a lot of summoners that plan. But I realized that's a small demographic, so the views weren't really there. And with my war videos and gameplay videos at the moment for this season, there just isn't enough time to justify doing those videos. Now, it doesn't mean I won't help. If you contact me directly through line or through the comment section, I am pretty responsive to that stuff, so I can help out anyone who's looking for a solution, and I can find an answer if I don't know it myself. But don't expect a video for every war for the planning aspect of war this season. Some other updates, smaller updates. We're going to have that new intro. I'm going to have timestamps in the description so that you can jump to specific fights easier. And that should be about it for the war video update. So let's go ahead and jump right into the discussion about the loyalty store. Alright, so loyalty store. And I wanted to put this in a video eventually because it's been living rent-free in my mind since the whole debacle started. And I feel like putting it into words instead of typing it into words will probably get it out of my head and basically get me to stop thinking about it till at least the season ends. But in order to illustrate my point or my opinion correctly, I have to give you guys, let's say, an origin story of me competing in Tier 1. So when I left SSX, and I think it was back in season 22, and I started season 23 with NewN. When I left, we weren't hitting Masters, so it was season 21 I left. I finished with SSX, went to 22, went to NewN with 22. So I left SSX because we weren't consistently hitting Masters, and I felt like I could compete at the level required to basically manage a season well enough and perform well enough to be in a Masters alliance consistently. And originally what was holding me back was my experience with map 7 at the time. I did not feel like I could confidently get through map 7 and all the modifications without dipping into potion or unit use. And then SSX played map 7 a few times, and I thought it was ridiculously easy. So it basically got me venturing out, and I wasn't originally looking at NewN, who at the time was competing for top 3. I was just looking for an alliance that had friends in it that were also maintaining a Masters status. But they were full and didn't have any openings. And NewN leadership pretty much convinced me to go ahead and compete for top 3. And top 3 wasn't in my mind. I thought it would be too stressful. I thought it would be, an unrealistic goal to maintain for a long period of time. Fast forward, they go with me in NewN. They go almost 9 seasons. It was 22 to 29, so 3 seasons finishing in the top 3. I think 1 out of that 7. So 6 seasons finishing in the top 3. 1 was finished at 5th. And at the time, my mindset going into that situation was that I'd keep a stash of glory pots. If worse came to worse and I died too much or I got close to dying too much, I'd live off the unit stash that I built from grinding arena. And I would see myself out if I reached a point where I wasn't able to maintain a healthy potion stash to compete at top 3. Now, some things that were different at that time than now. Rank 3s started becoming a thing when I was in New Nation over that 7 season period. There weren't bans. Quake was heavily a part of the meta with the global, where you could work around and you could take, 8, 9+ fights where most were Quake and not actually have to rely on a lot of item use. But even in that time, if I died or if I came close to death, I wasn't actually using the glory pots, which were level 4 glory pots, to heal my champions to full, unless I knew the war was pretty much over for me, in which case I was just healing for that last fight, knowing that I wouldn't item out at the end of the war. So it was a risk management kind of thing. But if I died early or knew that there was a chance I could item out if things kind of went further south, I'd actually use the units and buy the level 5 potions at 100 units so that I wouldn't be, putting my alliance at a disadvantage when we boss rushed, that one of the boss rushers ran out of items on the way to Boss Island. Now again, I mentioned Quake and how the meta worked. So at that time, it was a lot easier to take the 10 fights and not worry about dying or iteming out. And this was all before compensation. And then compensation showed up. And then those level 5 pots were in the compensation. So we weren't using units. On top of that, we were getting loyalty in the compensation. And New Nation was actually winning a decent number of off-season wars. Even if they were 2 battle group wars, I participated in every one. And it was actually in the off-season I saw my loyalty grow. Whereas when I was with SSX, my loyalty almost never grew. So there were a lot of times where I was at a class boost, this, that, and the other. So comboed with the compensation, before I started every season at that point with comp running, I always had max boosts of every type. We were getting extra 3-minute boosts, so those were all over my overflow stash. And I even had a healthy amount of units to where through the season I could almost maintain any type of boost that I wanted. Sometimes some class ones would run out depending on which champions I used or frequently got assigned. And since those were more random, especially after the 3-minute boost changed to refreshing, it was harder to always top off on those. But that, as far as the consumable goes, that in my opinion was probably the only stressful part of the consumables for war. Now, why is it important that I tell you all that to illustrate maybe my opinion? The too long didn't listen point of that whole thing was that there was a problem with the potion store before compensation, and compensation changed what the war norm is for what you should have ready to go going into a season. And it's already hard to kind of try to fix that problem if you're not willing to admit that the norm isn't where it's supposed to be, or if you're not willing to admit that the potion problem was a problem. And unfortunately for Kabam, they went and took that potion problem and brought way more attention to it than they probably should have by changing it from glory to loyalty. And instead of changing it to the exact same, they undershot it a lot and then tried to fix it to almost put it at the same level as glory, but still missing the mark just a little bit. And I say missing the mark because the level 4 potions in the loyalty store, sure, heal a little bit more than the level 4 potions in the glory store, at least if you're comparing the new system to the old. But it's short because glory we weren't using for anything unless we wanted to use it for something. So if we wanted to strictly stick glory costs to potions, we could. And then any of the extra glory we used, because we were either going to be in overflow or because the season ended and we're actually know we're going to get enough glory before the next season starts, we could use that on ranked materials. However, with loyalty, There's always class boosts to refill. There was always 3-minute boosts to refill. Loyalties used in buying tickets for alliance quests. There are loyalty costs across the board. And I told you that I really didn't see an increase in loyalty with the old loyalty payout until I joined New Nation and they were winning off-season wars. So something that's already low, like low amount available to summoners, turned into something that was going to be needed for war healing. And then to top that off, the change was sudden. It wasn't like, hey, in a month or two, here's what's probably going to happen. Go ahead and start maybe saving your loyalty, or go ahead and start buying up potions with loyalty. And then when you're ready, when we're ready to take away compensation, maybe you'll have enough potions and prepare yourself for a season. There was no buffer for us to prepare ourselves for the change. It was just instant. So it's really, 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 really dumb. In my opinion, probably should have just left it to the glory store until you actually found out a solution. And I get that it's hard to, pull data when compensation's running and people are sitting on this stuff and some aren't using it and some are. But at least have maybe a better plan where you discuss it with more than just yourself, because that initial change to the loyalty store, to my knowledge, was not discussed with anyone but Kabam themselves before putting it out. But at least discuss it with yourself before making a change, because when you made this change, everyone expected it to be a fix, and it's not a fix. It's barely, as everyone has seen with the numbers, it's barely the same as it was. But it's all of this chatter about it that has been living rent-free in my head. And my actual opinion on it is that I'm waiting to see how the season goes. I'm tracking my loyalty, and there's actually a spreadsheet by Campo. He's got a channel. I'm going to link the video where he talks about this spreadsheet. Maybe even you can use the spreadsheet to track your own loyalty through the season. I'm using this spreadsheet to really see what a season costs at the moment with the norm with compensation running, so that if Kabam is open to this data, they have it available to maybe make some future decisions about the loyalty boost. Because at the moment, the proposed loyalty boosts does not look like enough. But what I have to fall back on is that same thinking I had when I first joined New Nation. And that thinking was, as I told you guys, I'm going to build up the stash I can before a season. If I'm a detriment to my alliance with what I have and how often I die or how often I get close to death, and I have to start dipping into units or actually money, then I'll see myself out of tier 1 alliance wars. And maybe the problem isn't any better in lower tiers, but at least I can take some stress away, and then I'll do the same thing at that lower tier. And if at that lower tier it's the same problem, then I'll keep moving down until I find, something. I mean, my whole channel is built off of, experimenting with champs in war and seeing how well they play, or seeing some sort of use for them if you haven't, figured it out through questing or AQ. But anyways, that's my 2 cents. Hopefully it clears up my mind a little bit. Let's go ahead and talk about War 1 now. All right, so War 1, Season 33, we face JA, who is Jedi Assassins, who is the merger alliance of Kenobi and Assassins Reloaded. I will be taking in Magneto, Mr. Negative, and Sorcerer Supreme. I have Path 3 in Section 1 and Path 5 shared in the Section 2, and I have 2 mini-bosses on Boss Island. However, I do take them after the boss goes down. All right, so we're going to boost up here. Timing didn't work out well for me this war, so I actually end up boosting 3 times, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. First fight here is Juggernaut. Path 3, second node. This one has Power Focus 2. He gains an armor up after a special attack. It's a permanent armor up. And then there's the ability that prevents Nullify by 95%. And I can't think of it right now, but we're going to see it when I scroll through his abilities. So I'll figure out the name there unless I scroll too quickly. Placing the Power Start 1 boost here. It is Mystic Ward. Okay, so my game plan here with Sorcerer Supreme, as always, is to throw the special 1 at the start so that we can get that early slow debuff and not worry about Unstoppable. However, while the Unstoppable's up, he is stun immune, so we have to look out for that. The other problem with this node that I have to be very mindful of is that it has Hurt Locker. So there is very much a concern that Mystic Dispersion pushes me to, let's say, special 3, and I'm stuck not throwing special attacks to avoid Hurt Locker. However, in that scenario, I'll probably just throw the second special 3 so that I can get a slow placed and not actually lose this fight. So as you saw last season, I usually like to throw the first special 3 while in forgot it, Purple Blessing, so that we can get a permanent slow rune. So now when all of our special attacks get thrown, we are guaranteed to place a slow debuff so that we don't have to worry about the global. And here I'm saying in my head, used special 1, don't use, don't use, don't use. And from here, it's pretty much game over as long as we manage his power bar and special attacks well, and we don't throw repeat special attacks. So I saw there was an opportunity there to throw special 1 after a special 2, so that we can have special 2 and special 3 free for the Hurt Locker node. Special 2 here, power back boost pushed me to special 2, so this is a guaranteed special 3, but I want to get this special 2 out, and so far the fight's going really well. However, it's starting to look like the slow debuffs are about to fall off, but it's fine. As soon as he throws this special 2, I'm going to unload this special 3. And there's probably a faster option here, I'm sure, like Claire. But the usual Sorcerer Supreme this season, or this global, has been standing out really well. And down he goes with this special 2 following the special 3. Now, I'm headed this way because of the usual Manthing on node 20. We did experiment with a few options, but this war did not look like I was needed elsewhere in section 1. So I was sent here with Mr. Negative again. So game plan, and I actually forgot this node changed over during the off season, and I didn't practice it. So I was a little worried about the interaction of Masochism triggering every 7 seconds now. And you can see there I got hit. So I collected myself, saw how much light energy I had, decided to evade counter. Tried to create some space there. I did see the hit counter, but I did not actually pick up that it was going to hit 10 during that special 2. So I got very lucky that that armor up during special 2 did not trigger Unstoppable. And luckily, since it didn't, we still clutched this fight. So just need to be a lot more mindful in the future if I take that node about the way Masochism works with the new setup. Moving on, Path 5 in Section 2, this was shared. I end up taking the Nova on the first node, which has Ebb and Flow Intercept on it. And luckily with Magneto, I have a chance of removing Ebb and Flow Intercept for the entire fight based on his ability accuracy reduction versus metal champs. So invulnerability boost here, just to kind of make up any hits that I take during the fight. I'm not really worried about chip damage, and I'm not worried about getting to special 3 real quick. Nova is actually a metal champion that I hate trying to heavy retaliate. I always mess up the spacing where I'm either too far or too close, and I don't really like relying on the Unstoppable from the heavy to build my prowess to land a big special 3. So I actually am very comfortable here dodging all of Nova's special attacks, including a special 2. So I stick to just really bleeding him out with the special 1. You see there I try to get a little cheeky intercept and it doesn't happen, but I got it right after it. And bye-bye goes ebb and flow intercept. So I don't have the Fury, but the protection is now gone. So this is just a Magneto versus Nova fight. I'm very comfortable dodging the special 1, gets hit by a special 1. Anyways, that's what these boosts are for. So I'm very much just relying on the fact that Magneto overpowers Metal Champs, that he has the heal reversal, and that Bleed Detonate is just going to chip away at Nova. So this is pretty much the fight. There's nothing else special. There is going to be a heavy right here that I thought I was definitely far enough away for, but he had insane reach on it, and I ended up eating it anyways. So it's kind of annoying. I do have to use Magneto a bit later, so it's perfect to take away, what, 23% health that I'm going to have to heal back later, but luckily it'll be after boosts, so it won't cost as much loyalty as it normally would. So easy solo, moving on. Next day, boss is down, so we don't have to worry about the unstoppable armor with these next two, which is good. Ultron is on Safeguard. That's the first fight using Magneto, but Civil Warrior was the real concern, or the real, let's say, problematic fight, but I was going to take it with Sorcerer Supreme, which would have been fine, considering she has Armor Break, which has been counting as a Nullify, even though he's Nullify immune, so I'm going to get Mystic Dispersion benefits from that instead of actually nullifying a buff. But game plan here with Magneto, I actually use mutant boosts just because I thought if I don't kill him with the first special 3, hopefully I'll have enough power to just throw a second one. So I would just charge a heavy and end it. But of course, it's been a long time, if there was ever a time, where I took Magneto against a bleed immune metal champ. So I completely underestimated the damage from the special 3. And actually, when it happened, I didn't think about that. I was actually just happy that the RNG worked out where I bypassed Safeguard. So here it's just very heavy, being mindful of when he's got the evade charge up, especially if we decide to retaliate special 1s. But as you can see here, I'm not really retaliating them. I'm just waiting till he comes in so that I can parry heavy reliably. Now we're close to special 3, so this is where I started charging. This next one is going to push him to special 1. I'm going to bait it out, charge heavy, drop special 3. Perfect on the mini game. And with this first hit, I was able to breathe. First war of the season, you get the early war or first war jitters. Moving on, since there's no global here, this is a much easier fight. I don't have to worry about slow. I don't have to worry about starting with a PS1. My invulnerability boost is still running, so I'm going in with that. It doesn't matter which blessing I have up when I throw special attacks. The only thing that matters here is that I don't stun, and that I don't let him beat me down with special attacks or combos. So baiting out special attacks, finding openings with his heavy attack, intercepting him, making sure we get block up early instead of like waiting to put block up so that we don't accidentally parry. I got pushed to special 2 here, and I decided, hey, this is a good opportunity to maybe throw special 3 while we've got the ferocity blessing up. And I probably should have thrown it there, but I didn't want to push him too far into his special attack, so I decided to wait until the next round of ferocity. So we got to wait out Ingenuity here. Forgot that against Juggernaut earlier. And then right when this ends, I throw it. So here we're going to have a guaranteed armor break debuff every special attack we throw, which is going to feed Mystic Dispersion. So even though Civil Warrior is Nullify, Stagger, and Fate Seal immune, this is going to let us easily build power after throwing special attacks. So would not have been something we could take advantage of if the global was still active, because I would rather have the slow and have slower power gain than deal with this. He gets pretty stubborn here with his special 2. He finally throws it. I think here I wait. Yep, ferocity. And then we throw this special 2. He didn't have any armor breaks on him. I think he might have had one, so this isn't going to do as much damage. Plus, this fight's going a little bit slower since I didn't use any mystic boosts. Didn't feel there was a need to. We were actually already losing on time pretty significantly. So me boosting and using those mystic boosts, and yeah, it dashed into a special one. Me boosting and using those mystic boosts wouldn't have changed the outcome. So I decided to save them for that loyalty mindset. But yeah, this is the fight. Nothing special. Definitely would have been way more entertaining with the global up. She's probably one of the better options for him here anyways with the global up. Just because of her, access to slow, and down he goes. So that was the end of my war. Only 5 fights for the first war. No big deal. RBG ended up beating out their BG 2-1, which was good. However, JA actually ended up winning this war 2-4. So those 2 deaths in their BG2 were the only 2 deaths. Anyways, that was the end of the first war of the season. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I will catch you guys at War 2.